and my boss, and so he's evaluating me today.
Keeping
So if I don't have the answer, I go,
You gotta love you. It's,
Well, it's a
it's
matter
really
of speaking.
you know,
I love you.
I took a shower for you today.
Thanks.
this is why we talk to each other. It's normal.
Yeah, we're all very close. Very close.
And I am Brianna Cartwright, the chair of the Labor Caucus, your chair. And I want to thank the people at home that's tuning in through Facebook, Twitter, phones, online, and the people who have come, and our lovely panelists. Today, we have our panelists talking on economic justice, economic equality. What is economic justice? Economic justice is fair wages, safe working conditions, and ensuring that collective bargaining process stay in the workplace to ensure that fairness. It's important for our panelists to remind the public, us, about the importance of this economic justice, because we have candidates right now on the other side, the front runner of the Republicans, Donald Trump, who say that wages are too high. And that's problematic. And we value our democratic process, and we see the importance of these debates. So we can see the inner thinking of these politicians. And we need to make sure that we elect someone that would actually help our homes, help us individually, help our families, to help America. And so we're going to talk today. The point, as you guys probably know, the point of our caucus is to inform our leaders, to remind our leaders the importance of this economic justice, what we want from them, and to remind the public the importance of economic justice, because there's many people who believe that this economic security is just going to be there. They don't realize that there's importance to this, and that who you might elect, such as the person who says wages are too high, might take away your economic justice. And so we're here for the reminder. We're in Iowa, you know, presidents have to come to Iowa supposedly in order to become a president for this debate. And so we're here to touch on very important topics. And one of the topics, because as we know in this room, it's impossible to think, well, it's not impossible to think, but it's impossible to do, to round up tens of millions of immigrants and deport them, and then have them build a wall across America and have them pay for that wall to keep themselves out of our country. So, but we have people like Ted Cruz and Donald Trump who think that this is possible. Well, luckily we have educated people on our side and think that that's not actually possible. And so today we're going to talk about immigrant wage theft, because it's an important issue. We are going to have immigrants, and we need to make sure that this country is safe for the immigrants as the people. I mean, let's be frank, we all are immigrants. We all came from somewhere. So we need to make sure that this is a country for everyone. And so that's one of the topics that these panelists is going to talk about. And other issues that they will address are income inequality, minimum wage, and labor rights issue in each one of our hometowns. We went around the room and say where we were all from. We cover 50 states. And so there's a lot of issues. We're focusing on the Midwest, as we have food processing here in Iowa. As some of us might know, that there's issue with Tyson's factory, and their wages getting stolen from them. They're not getting paid their overtime in order to get ready for work and so forth. And the court case that's in front of the Supreme Court right now to make sure that they get their wages, which is very important, because right now we have an opportunity to elect a president that might reform what our Supreme Court looks like, because all of them are very old, in their 90s. They're not going to survive past 8 years. So it's very, very important to make sure that we vote for a president that will put in justices, that will vote and rule and give down issues that we know are in line with our thinking and that will actually help us. And so we're here for that reminder, and they're here to show us the pathways to ensure this economic justice. So round of applause for our panelists.
I offered to go first because you gave me a beautiful entry into an important issue that is before the United States Supreme Court right now. It's the Fredericks case. And this case is has the potential of being the most damaging piece of court work ever done in the country in terms of the survival of labor. The court case essentially is the teachers and its fair share fees. However, the Right to Work Committee that put the court case up wrote it in such a way that it could be very far-reaching. It could go into how you pay your dues, if we can deduct it from your paycheck, how we collect any kind of reimbursement, how we handle grievances, how we do the day-to-day business of a union, which I'm sure John and Gary can give you a better idea of how that works than I can. But it is a very important case. We suspect that we will lose fair share fees portion. And for those of you that don't know what that is, if you go to a country club and you say, I want to play golf, they make you join the country club and pay a fee. You can't just say, well, I want to play here and I don't want to pay for it. And essentially, Iowa has, because it's a right to work state, has a free-for-all for folks that can get the benefits of a union. We call them non-members or potential members. Other people have different names for them. But what they essentially are doing is freeloading off the backs of people who are paying union dues. We don't have the right in Iowa to charge fair share or a fee structure. We tried to change it when we had a Democratic legislature and a Democratic governor, and we couldn't get the job done because it's been ingrained in this state for such a long time. I think this court case is going to make it a moot point, I'm afraid. But what we're looking for as a result of that court case are young people like yourselves to write letters to the editor to stand up and say, this is horrible what the Supreme Court has done to labor to basically try to remove collective bargaining rights from the unions and from their members. And so when you see this case come out, what do you think it's going to be, Gary, in the middle of the spring or something?
I do.
It will be a headliner, and hopefully, it doesn't go too far. But whatever it does, it's not helpful to the labor movement. Those are justices appointed by Bushes. And this is what you get. Somebody always said to me, elections have consequences, and that is an example of a consequence. And I see now where they're going to, again, hear another gay marriage thing, another abortion issue, put it to rest, And so that's why I'm supporting Hillary Clinton, because I think and I know that she will support court appointments that will care about labor, care about women, and the immigration issue as well, if that ever winds up in court, which it will with this crazy bunch that we have here. But I think it's very important to your generation. This Fredericks case is the tip of the iceberg for them to start going after everyone else, only in a different way. And I think that your generation has got to speak up on this one. And you've got to work really hard in this presidential race, by the way. And I know you because my hometown is Knoxville.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so I've seen you before, so. I was gonna say that earlier.
You don't go to the bars, dude.
I don't go to bars either.
He's knocking on doors.
I got kicked
Doing
out
work.
of a bar not full. Just once though.
But anyway, I really cannot, how important, every year we say to our members, don't we? This is the most important election ever. I gotta tell you, this is the most important election ever. I mean, a whole bunch of these Supreme Court judges are going away. And I don't know about you, but I don't want Ted Cruz
Three.
choosing them.
Right.
And so I really hope that what you learn here today and what you do on the ground, you get out there and fight, and let's get behind the Democratic candidate and let's just bowl them over, because it's your future in your employment as well. And let me just close with this. One of the refreshing things that I've seen over the last 5 years is the upswing in young people's opinions of labor unions and of organized labor. And that's very, very heartening to me, because I've been around a while, and I remember when I first started in politics, I was mystified. My parents, my dad was a labor union member, but I was mystified by these, and they were mostly men then, but I was mystified by how the whole labor movement worked and wanted to be part of that. And it's just a great feeling to know that you're not only helping people that are working next to you, but that you're helping those that aren't working next to you. And it's heartening to see so many young people want to go there. My niece just started as a clerk at Prairie Meadows, and she found out that her unit was the only one that was carved out when we did the contract. And she called me, she was crying, because she had told all her friends that she was going to get to belong to a labor union. And I thought, she's 19 years old. How cool is that? That she was so upset. And so I told her, well, we'll have to get out there and get them organized. But anyway, thank you for coming to listen to us today. And before you leave, I'd like to spend at least 5 minutes and have you guys tell us what plate. I'd like to know what's on your plate.
Let me reiterate on a couple of points that Marcia hit on. And what, our members always say to us, every 4 years or every 2 years, depending on the state race or the national race, it's always that most important race. This is really the big one. But this year is truly unique in that fact from the standpoint of the Supreme Court. Because as you all know, if you don't like your elected official, I don't care if he's your mayor, your city council member, or the president, you can throw them out after 4 years. You can do something about that. There is no overturning the United States Supreme Court. They are the law of the land. Their interpretation is set. So that doesn't, you don't get to revote some of them in 4 years if you don't like their decision. Those are decisions that will outlast us. You're going to pass on to your children, literally. And so that's what really does make this election so unique, is the fact of the age of the Supreme Court, the impact that those new justices could have on it, and to that nature. Just touching on fair share for a second, Iowa, and this chaps my hide as a union member, we have to represent the non-member. Now, this is kind of the inside joke we say. I have to fairly represent you. Well, you're a non-dues paying member. I'll give you fair representation. You're a member. You're getting excellent representation. I'll fairly represent you. But other states have done unique things, and I believe it's Florida. We represent a lot of people in Florida, the Teamsters do, but they have a thing, they have an agreement down there, the law, I think, states to the effect of you as a non-member are entitled to the benefits of the contract, except I don't have to foot the bill as a union member, which is great, because why should my dues protect you when you chose not to pay? I always looked at being part of a union as being part of insurance, right? State Farm's not fixing your car if you don't pay your premium. So why should I fix your car when you didn't pay to play? So there's different options out there, but this idea of the unions having to represent those people who don't contribute towards it, like compared to car insurance, and State Farm doesn't cover you if you don't pay your premium. But on that, I absolutely agree that this is, if there's one election you're going to vote in the next 12 or 16 years, it should be this one, because the impact on the Supreme Court is going to be huge. It'll have far more reaching effects who gets on the Supreme Court than really who is elected the governor or the president or in that state house.
I just want to expand on kind of what both Marcia and John had said, is that, you know, they're talking about Supreme Court appointments and how important that is. But, you know, who's in charge and why does it matter? It's not just the Supreme Court. I mean, there's all kinds of federal, state agencies. The National Labor Relations Board is staffed. You know, these are appointments that come from the President of the United States. The Republicans would like nothing more than to either defund it all, shut it down, or put terrible people on there who want to stop the organizing that's going on right now. And the labor movement now looks different than it did in the 70s then, and the 70s looked different than it did in the 50s and then the 30s and so on. If this were back then, Marcia wouldn't be here, probably sitting up here. And you know what? Marcia is probably one of the people who have taught me more than anybody in the entire labor movement. So thank you, by the way. But you know,
Anytime.
but I'm just saying that going forward, the labor movement is going to look very, very different than it does right now. You have, you know, people who are tired of their wages being completely stagnant. Basically, for everybody in this room, wages have been stagnant your entire lifetime. I saw something on some social media, I think it might have been Facebook, where, you know, Robert Reich was asking a question like, well, all the economic indicators are up and all this, but people don't believe the economy is good. Why is that? Well, it's because your wages, that's because nobody feels like they're making any more money, and it's true. You have people who are rising up in low-wage industries, fast food industries. You have, you know, Walmart workers all across the country. You have a whole new group of people who are saying, I want justice. You know, when at AFL-CIO here, we get calls where people say, hey, I'm interested in forming a union. And 99 times out of 100, 9 times out of 10, whatever, they don't say it's because I want to get paid more. It's always, almost always because, hey, I'm being treated like crap on the job. And there may be specific instances, there may be my entire unit's being treated this way or whatever. But that's what people are looking for. And shame on us if us in the labor movement, we don't tap into that and find ways that we can engage. So I think that is happening all across the country. If you look over in Iowa City at what's going on at the Center for Worker Justice, where they are reaching out to workers who are having their wages stolen, immigrants who are being targeted unfairly in housing and things like that. They are reaching out to workers in ways that labor hasn't done before. And Center for Worker Justice over there in Iowa City, and I think you're going to see more of these start popping up around in our state, and I know that in your states that these are forming as well. But different organizations, labor is going to look different going forward because we have to reflect the society out there that is wanting what we need, what they need. And you know, I'm not sure about the Teamsters membership, but ask me, it's probably what, 60% female?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not something that traditionally has been the case with labor. So and people of color as well. The labor is changing, and that's a very, very good thing. And you know, we are a big ship. It takes a while to turn a big ship, you know. But I think that we're doing that, and we're doing it to the best of our ability to try and tap into that frustration and that anger out there, and maybe organizing drives and showing people how to get power in their communities and their workplace may not look exactly the same as it did in the 1970s. But I think that we're doing that, you know, not just in Johnson County, but you have minimum wage ordinances popping up all over the state. And the reason why is because you don't have the state legislature reacting to the fact that $7.25 isn't just a poverty wage, it's a starvation wage. And that's where we're at in Iowa. You know, no offense to anybody from Nebraska or South Dakota, but gosh, when the minimum wage is better in states like that, then here we're an embarrassment. So we have to do better. If the legislature can't do it, then there's people who want to take it to the local level and fight for their rights. So we're going to continue to probably look at things differently and change and adapt to the situation. But I agree with Marcia. I want to hear what you all think and what you think labor can do better, or maybe what we.
I would say one last thing, because we didn't get to it, but I want to be sure that you all know, as far as we're concerned, any immigration policy that is harmful to any person, family, child, is just not acceptable to labor. It's not acceptable, it never will be, and a lot of our members migrated here to make a $7.25 minimum wage, but and so it's just unacceptable. And we are with every organization and push because we all have members that are either could be undocumented members, documented members, but we are just dead set against any of these ideas that these Republicans have.
Let me touch base 1 second on organized. So my background prior law enforcement from like 22 to 33 years old, or 22 to 33, whatever. When I left there, I went to work for the International. We did organizing campaigns all over the country. First gig was in Key West for 8 weeks. Not a bad place to have to go for 8 weeks. But I've been all over the country, and I worked with school bus drivers to factory workers to law enforcement. And the number one thing that people want out of organizing is not money. It's respect. And if any of you ever get the opportunity to represent people, and like I said, I have 36 contracts, I have 500 or 600 members, here's what they're looking for. When the boss calls you in to chew you a new one because you've done something wrong, or because you're the wrong gender, the wrong race, or whatever the case is, do you think that they talk to you differently when you have somebody sitting next to you? It's about respect. I may not be able to fix the problem. You might have screwed up, but you still are going to get fired or a 5-day suspension. But what I can ensure is this: they're not going to attack you for your race or your gender, use derogatory terms, yell, scream, and everything else. That's what this is about. And the other thing I want people to realize too is there's no stereotypes about the kind of organizing going on. Because I don't care if you're an immigrant worker worried about being deported and organizing, or you're a cop who, if you call 911 and there's gunfire in your neighborhood, they're the guys that run to gunfire, or the firefighters running into the building. They are just as scared for their jobs in an organizing campaign as the immigrant worker is about getting deported. Now, the odds are obviously a little different, but I think it's important that people who aren't in the field understand that the number one goal isn't insurance and wages. It's respect and being treated with a little dignity and a little common courtesy. And then the second thing is, I don't care how brave you are, every worker in an organizing campaign is concerned or scared about something, and more than not, it's their job and being fired. And sometimes the stakes are higher depending on what your industry is.
Yes, yes.
So first of all, I want to thank you for doing what you do, because I worked in the student loan industry for 7.5 years. Thankfully, I do not work there any longer. But on 3 occasions, there was a possibility of me getting fired due to comments that were made about me that were not true. Came before a labor council, and it got squashed very quickly because they got found that they weren't true. And I just want to thank you all for doing what you do, because being, 4th generation, going back to the coal mining industry, and what my grandfather was able, my grandfather died of black lung, my great-grandfather died of black lung. So I just want to give you my appreciation. I wish there was more that we could do, but I have to leave, so I just wanted to thank you for your work, and I hope you have a good time here.
I got a comment, more of a question. I'm from Illinois. I'm in AFSCME and FOP. I work for the Illinois Department of Corrections. We're going through a battle right now with our government. He's trying to kill everything. One of the issues that we have, AFSCME represents a big, large number of employees in Illinois.
You came in late? I'm
Yeah.
asking.
You asked me too? Okay, it's out
Yeah.
there. Hoorah.
Hey, brother.
One of the things one of the issues is that there's not a lot of support at the ground level. Like we'll have a general meeting, and I work with on any given day 500 people, and there's only 10 guys at the meeting. I mean, what can we do? You think what's the avenue we can take to get more of that ground level support because the governor don't take us serious. This is why his shenanigans.
That question is perfectly suited for me. Only because of this, right? I'll take Marshalltown, for example. When my boss gave me Marshalltown PD, there are 40 cops in Marshalltown, and they had one member. And they took turns every year signing up and dropping off because why? The other 39 get to ride the bus for free. One person pays the toll wheel right on their shirt tail. Here's the number one thing that I see in groups that I've been asked to go in and talk to when they say, we're unhappy with our union, we want to decertify. Unions do a kick-ass job of taking care at the bargaining table. But you know what we don't do? We don't communicate how great a job we're doing. People don't get it, right? And people have kids and they have second jobs and they're coaching Billy's baseball team and Sally's got to get to dance. And I don't have an hour to go to a union meeting and it doesn't jive. So we have to change how we do it. So here's what we started doing. We started doing newsletters, right? And people don't want to hear from me. We started doing newsletters with other members in other places about what the union's doing for them, or an example of what we did there. We started sending out group texts. We started a Facebook account. I mean, social media is a no-brainer, but the thing of it is, you have to make it valuable because it's like everything else, right? You get the coupon from, Zippos to buy shoes, right? You just spam it. But if you do a newsletter in a meaningful way, like quarterly, when you get that, people are like, what is it? Maybe sometimes they're busier than others. My membership right now in Marshalltown is 36 out of 40. The number one reason people don't join unions, anybody know?
They weren't asked.
They weren't freaking
Yes.
asked.
My coin.
I think to your point is that, because you're from Illinois, so you have fee payer schedule.
Right. So we automatically
So his question is, brother, I feel your pain because we have Terry Branstad. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. And, you have Roberta, I think is the head of Council 31 there. And it's a very good, solid union. You have shit for a governor.
I know.
And this is the old saying where elections have consequences. And I will tell you, that's one of the things that we do successfully with our correctional staff around the state. When they start saying we don't have enough people in the prison, or the probation and parole officers caseloads are out of this world, we say to them, you know what, you gotta get politically involved. You gotta come to that meeting, and let's talk politics. Let's talk turkey. And I will tell you, one of the successes, and I wish Charlie would talk about it a little bit, is that the Iowa Fed started this WIN program. And what they do is they go into communities for city council elections, trustees for community colleges, mayors, and start training young people like yourself to move into elected office. Because I guarantee you, if you can't get that good governor, you might be able to get a good legislature and then put the heat on them. We fight the same thing right now, but we're lucky enough to have Mike Ronstall in the Iowa Senate that, keeps a check on Terry Branstad. But I will tell you, we got him in court 6 times. And this is his second go around. There's Branstad 1 and Branstad 2. And I feel your pain, and the only way to change it is politics. We have a structure in Iowa, and I don't know if they do at AFSCME in Illinois, where we actually have every local has a political action chair.
It's in place. It's like people just don't come to the general meeting. They don't come to the functions.
And let me get your name
Yeah,
and
I'll
your
give it to
phone
you.
number before you leave. because maybe you would like to spend some time in Iowa for Hillary.
You know, that is what AFSCME here in this state. And one of the things that I think AFSCME does really, really well is they, in this state, is they build a great sense of solidarity amongst their membership. And a lot of times it has to be when there's some problem. We are awesome at dealing at that crap that's right in front of you, but we don't think about the long term. And that's what Marsh was kind of getting at with WIN, is we got to build a farm team. You know, it's not just because it is important who's on school board for building trades too, and for the school employees and so on. But you know, the right wing started this 40 years ago, getting people elected to school boards, getting elected to city councils, and now they're U.S. senators and stuff. Joni Ernst, our wonderful, not saying that serious, 5 years ago, she was the Montgomery County auditor. Okay, and now she's a U.S. senator screwing up all kinds of stuff in Washington, D.C. But it goes to that question, and I challenge you, everybody in this room, to think about how we change this dynamic. Is the union basically like a vending machine? You know, do we just put in our money and press our button, and then the grievance comes out? Is it purely a transactional relationship, or are we doing things that we are trying to actually build a movement? And I think that what you are trying to say is you want to help build a movement.
That's the problem.
And
No one comes running for trouble. You know, step 8 for
Oh, that
discipline.
sucks, doesn't it? So,
Yeah.
let me say this for you too, you're a young man. Do you guys have a Next Wave chapter there or anything?
I don't think so.
Why don't you ask him about that? What it is that we have one here, and I think probably Teamsters and everybody has them now, but we actually have people that are under, similar to this, 39 or something, that they belong to our Next Wave movement. They have a conventional level, I think. And it's a way to get young people involved in a different way. And this, you know, throws in that whole social media thing that you guys all.
well, there's
I tweet.
there's next up is the AFL-CIO one, Renew is the IBEW one. I mean, there are so many success, but it's basically about how do we get young people engaged, and I guarantee you're not going to hear, you know, the same kind of thoughts about, for example, Black Lives Matter. You're not going to hear the same conversation at a general convention as you are at a young workers meeting, and those kind of discussions for people that are our age is important to have, because we're all looking at the future leaders here of the labor movement.
Just to follow up with you too, you get it. I don't mean to make this sound too common sense, but you got to make it meaningful to them, right? So, for example, in Iowa, when I talk to, and here's the problem with law enforcement too, right? A lot of them think they're Republicans. It's seriously,
Firefighters too.
seriously, firefighters, cops.
Yes.
The Teamsters have an association with the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, and they all think they're Republicans too. It's like, why do you think you make $80,000 a year? It's not because the Republicans want you to, it's because the Democrats gave you collective bargaining rights. Right? So in Iowa, insurance is mandatory subject to bargaining. They have to bargain about insurance. I'll see if Marcia agrees with me. Eventually, Branstad would love to take away all collective bargaining, but I'll guarantee you, if they thought they could do it, the one thing that they would do is take away insurance.
Yep.
And if insurance isn't mandatory, everything else is irrelevant. Because here's the question. I don't care if I get a 15% raise. I'll just make you pay 80% of your health insurance premiums. Guess what? You just took a $3 an hour hit.
Yep.
So one without the other, the scales go, you know, and so you have to make this meaningful. The other thing is this, right? Young people don't care. I mean, under 28, and this is the generation we're seeing, the only thing they really care about is when can I get done with work to go back and play Xbox. I have chiefs of police who the biggest concern they have about working 12-hour shifts is when the officers go home, they're going to play Xbox for 6 hours, and then they come to work with 2 Monster drinks, and they wonder why they're dragging butt 6 hours into their shift. So you have to make it how it's relative to them, because we all work for what? One day when we don't have to work. So we have to talk about what we do to secure our public employment pensions and what we do to protect the multipliers. And we really have to educate it. I mean, the young folks, if you really want to get them involved, you have to make them understand how all this is relative to them. And really, it has to be bullet points, because people don't read paragraphs, they read bullet points. And then do picks and quotes with your own membership about things that you know have been happening there. But people,
I think you have to make it fun.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, you know, I mean, politics is the same way. People aren't gonna do things if they're not fun. And going and sitting at a local meeting and listening to the treasurer's report. I gotta be honest with you, I don't really know a local meeting.
if you make a pinata out of your governor though, and you post
Well, for the last-
Maybe we should do that.
For the last-
I said
For the last
it.
2 months, the membership, the meetings have been
Right, Gary?
kind of consistent because the governor took away, they call it upward mobility. And we found out that the state pays for us to go to school and we get paid while we're at school. When he figured that out, he swiped the program. So now everybody's all up in arms about, okay, I'm in class this.
That is a terrific
That's-
issue for young
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could have a ball with that. I mean, you could, you know, send him a book with no pages in it. I mean, he'll tell you, these guys, I'm a crazy person. I think he just like, first time Branstad was around, we followed him everywhere. We even had some ASME people in China show up there when he showed up there, you know, I mean, so you gotta make their life miserable, but I would think that Council 31 has a pretty good plan,
Yeah, I got plenty of
But-
plans. Yeah.
but
It's
you
the
guys have
members.
to,
Yeah.
it's the members,
Yeah.
that's right.
Well, let me ask you this though. Who's your business agent?
We don't have business.
Who's your staff, or whatever their title is, because here's where we find the leadership. As like, hey,
Yeah. Bunch of
lazy. I never said like whatever, or you know, Tommy's daughter has cancer. That's the only time I see my unions. So sometimes we've had to say, we're having a stewards election. We need to mix it up a little bit.
that's a problem too. People don't get engaged. They don't want to run. You know, it's the same people
Yeah.
every.
And we
The other thing is our people, it's all strictly volunteer, so.
ours too. I mean, we don't, you don't get your dues paid or anything as a steward for us. I mean, but I would say sometimes too, and I use an example over in Iowa City. We had a unit that was really kind of stagnant. They couldn't get 10 members, 200 orally.
Yeah.
They couldn't get 10 members to show up for a meeting. They did a newsletter one month, a newsletter the next month, had a meeting 2 weeks later, 80 people showed up. Biggest meeting they've had in like 3 years. Well, how'd they get there? Well, we fed them communication. We emailed it to them. We sent them texts and pictures on their phones. I mean, we jumped through some hoops, but we got there in 10 weeks.
I think one of the things that state workers that are under these awful governors feel, at least I've seen it, you know, we had Branstad, then we had a wonderful governor, Tom Vilsack, who, by the way, is Secretary of Agriculture supporting Hillary Clinton. And then we had Chet Colburn.
I didn't pay her for this, by the way, for the viewers at home.
But he was a wonderful governor and treated all the state employees with respect. He had Christmas parties for me. He was wonderful. Now we got Branstad back again. So there he is again. I mean, I'm sure this is how you feel. They just tear you down.
I'll gouge you, basically.
That's what they want to do, is tear you down and make you puppets for them. And, you know, you just got to fight back. You got to tell your coworkers, you got to come, because we got to fight back against this a-hole. We got to do it.
Do a pinata
Somebody
next.
had a question.
Question over here. Anybody?
Did someone have a
The
question?
new girl in the room got a question? I'm just teasing.
No, I'm just here for him. I'm sure it's very interesting what he
Let's talk for a second too about the wage stuff, right? But first of all, it is against the law. It is criminal. But secondly, what are they doing with the money?
Great diversity.
You know, they're just reinvesting. They're reinvesting it, quote unquote, back into the management side of the world. And the problem is they're really picking on the naive immigrant. Not that they're not intelligent. The fact is they're so happy to be here. Well, you're supposed to pay me 10, but you're paying me 7. This is the most money I've made in my life. This is great. And so again, you have that fear of, deportation, of run-ins with the police, of getting fired. And that's why they don't come forward.
It's not just immigrants though that are being ripped off on their wages. I mean, it's exactly. The outrageous thing is that people are stealing money and nobody's going to jail. It's like, what the? This is like if Marcia and I went over, and John, sure, why not? All three of us went over and knocked off that come and go across the street, and all we had to do was, if we got caught, all we have to do was say sorry and get the money back. Actually, I don't think the law says you even have to say you're sorry. You just have to give the money back. That's what the law on wage theft is. That is insane. And it's happening to all kinds of people that don't know what their rights are, and
that's the key. I agree with you there.
And they're not having Social Security paid in for them. They're not having work comp. They're not being protected on unemployment insurance. And these are just bad employers out there. And it frustrates those of us who are down at the legislature to no end, because the business lobby always comes in and says, well, this is an outrage that this is happening. We don't support anybody who's doing this, but this law goes too far. We can't, we just can't pass anything that would actually address the problem. You know what? If there's a criminal in our ranks, we want them gone, right? And I don't get why the business community doesn't want to take care of their.
Let me ask you one last thing. How many of you have college debt? Well, college debt, that doesn't matter about how many have more than $5,000? How many have more than $10,000? 20. Oh my God, I am sick to my stomach.
Keep going.
How many people had a building trades union apprenticeship program come into your high school and actually show you that there are other options out there where you can actually get paid to learn a skill?
In a 2-year degree and have a $50,000 a year job.
Well, nonetheless, I don't care what you do. The building trades do it right. They teach people, they do it for free, and they find them a job. I don't understand why this country can't send kids to college for free and help them find a job. I mean, I just went to Israel, and they do a couple of years community service. All of their colleges pay for, and they find them a job. Now, yes, do you have to stand on a corner and hold a gun? Yes. I suppose if you're a conscientious objector, you could probably stand on the corner without a gun. I don't know, but the bottom line is, other countries do it. We should be doing it, and I think it's just outrageous that people have $20,000 in debt. I just.
It's really on the low side.
I know. I just think it's sick.
Yeah, one of the, I know you had mentioned what are some of the things that
Right.
we're thinking about. Something that I've noticed while being a manager in corporate America, and it's really alarming to me, is the fact that there's a shift that recent college grads, they're not getting benefits, they're not getting insurance, and they're working really low paying jobs. They're lucky if they're making $15 an hour in metro cities. Working in marketing, PR, sales, advertising. And these are things where you have to have a college degree, but yet for the next 5 years, you're working through staffing firms that are not going to give you benefits.
So you're talking about temporary agencies.
Yeah, a lot of shifts.
Thing that happen.
They are, and I'm in a position where I'm really fighting that I don't want that. I don't think it's fair. And my bosses agree with me, but it's when you're held to each quarter, I just feel very, I feel like I don't have a lot of options, and I feel like I don't know how to
I hear you, and I run into so many good business people that, that are being pressured to use temporary workers.
Yeah.
And honestly, it goes on, I don't know about you, but it goes on in our state government
Yeah.
all the time. And just recently, the school system here tried to hire temporary work agencies. I mean, for teachers.
For
now.
some teachers.
Yeah.
And you know what? And labor. This is another example of how labor is addressing it. Marcia and my friend Mitchell Steele, worked in Wisconsin for a while on trying to get basically unionized temp services going, and it's really fascinating what they had set up there. Working with the Department of Labor, the Wisconsin State Federation of Labor got some grants and some things like that, and they really set up a cool program there. And it may not be exactly geared towards white collar work, but I don't, this is something that I think would be, it's something that we need to look at and say, okay, well, how do we address the new economy that's out there?
You're absolutely right. I think it's horrible.
It is.
Horrible.
Yeah, 3:30. We can go as long as you want, but
Yes,
I just don't want to run over.
he had a question.
This might be sort of in the weeds, but I'm gonna try to generalize it. So I sit on a local zoning board, and I guess in California we're somewhat lucky in that we at least tend to have progressive policies around labor. Well, there was a wage theft issue. There was a subcontractor that actually was ripping off employees, and they had a 2-hour commute each way. They were coming in working for effectively less than minimum wage. The unions came to the zoning board. They said, put in a condition of approval on this development. I can't remember, I might have gotten a second, and that was about it. Or maybe I didn't get a second. There were like 1 or 2 people, myself being one, who voted to put in that condition. Because my
Like they make more than minimum wage.
to like a specific condition, to have a mechanism
Like
to
prevailing
enforce
wage.
wage theft,
Okay.
right? Because my colleague didn't see it as a land use issue. It took an act of the city council to sort of change the policy. The general question I have is, how do we work across sectors to make people who generally consider themselves somewhat progressive to understand that, land use is not an island, environmental policies is not an island. It all goes back to labor, it's all interconnected. We have these public bodies and mechanisms to do this.
Well, I would say it's a difficult task. However, I think the old thing is what comes around goes around. And believe me, somewhere, example, Republican legislator in the Iowa House, very friendly to us, but a little shaky on labor issues. Came in one day and she said, my son was working at a factory and he sustained an injury and he's going to lose up to his forearm. And she fought with the work comp company, with the insurance company. And guess what? Next time that issue came up, Teresa Garman, she voted with us. So some of this is that they'll someday have life experiences the same as the rest of us, and they'll wonder what they were thinking when that came up. But I think that's where coalition building comes in. Don't just, labor people have to reach out to the faith community, they have to reach out to the environmental community, they have to reach out to every community that they have a likeness with. And you gotta get in there and you gotta shake things up, because one guy might be an environmentalist and the other one might be a small business person. And there's small business associations that we work with. So you gotta coalition build. It's so important, especially around an issue like that.
And then the other thing I think is set realistically. People want to be on the winning team. So you might want to get here, but set your goals so that people have some feeling of success or achievement. I think that's sometimes what I've learned through doing this is I might be trying to get here, but it might take me 3 years to get there. So what can I set that I can achieve?
Thank you for inviting us. It's so
Thanks,
nice
guys.
to
And ladies,
see young faces, and it's amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't tell you, I used to be president of the Iowa Young Democrats.
Oh, welcome back.
Had my name on stationery and everything.
19.
Nice one, yes.
No.
I'm 60. I got to 60, I brag about it. I'm surprised I lived this long. I was a pretty rocky kid.
So we want to thank you for coming out and expressing. I think we'll have follow-up for the individuals in the room if they want to talk to you about engaging. And getting people to their local meetings and different things that could make it possibly fun to, I think we have a commonality of, yes, the leaders are engaged, but we don't want them to be top down. How do we get people in the bottom also have fun? So we might do follow-ups with you individually as we see fit. But we do appreciate you coming out, and you did touch on, labor changing. I'm here, the first African American woman, and even after, before that, I don't know when's the last woman, just not even.
Not
Where
that
are
I
you
can, not that
from?
I can
I
remember.
don't think there was.
Where do you from?
I'm originally from Michigan. I'm living in Florida right now, actually. Yes, I represent unions in Florida, which right to work. We have a fight, but I'm loving it, and so that's what I'm doing. But like you said, labor is changing. The nation's changing, and we just need to be behind it, educating people, allowing them to realize what is important to them, because when they're taking Sally to dance, they don't, think about, well, this might affect Sally. You know what I mean?
Sally may not be able to go to dance next week.
Exactly.
You know?
And so, or even something down is like, okay, well, I don't have time to go out to vote because I'm trying to think about how to put food on the table. But when you're getting those benefits cut even more, it's going to be even harsher. So it's relating, person to person, and we appreciate, and we definitely want to keep in touch too, because you guys have a lot of experience on the field that we just want to take a little bit of and be able to run forward with it. And to our viewers at home, we want to thank you and stay engaged with us in the caucus, even if you can't come to our meetings. Go to www.exchange2020.com to keep updated with the Labor Caucus, and our Facebook page, which we post about the Supreme Court and the different cases and our different events. So thank you.